I teased a little bit of it before we went into break, guys, but NFL agreed to a 17-game extension starting this upcoming season in 2021. No more. See, what I'm happy about, Liam. They can't make the 8-8 Cowboys jokes anymore.
Yeah.
You can't never say, Dak Prescott's an 8-8 quarterback because
it's either going to be you're going to have over 500 or under 500.
It's impossible to go 8-8 now. You can go 9-8 or 8-9, but you cannot go 8-8. So 17-game schedule. See, I mentioned, or I alluded to my episode last semester when I talked a lot of CBA stuff, and I talked about I can't remember if this was last semester or maybe it was all the way back in the spring. I can't remember.
Jeez.
But I did one, and I did a lot of talk about the Jaguars expanding into London and how the 17-game schedule and this new CBA is going to affect that a lot. And I talked about how with the 17-game schedule, and this is a point I feel like it's been underrated a lot. But it means with 17 games, it's not even, right? We all know our basic maths, which means the teams are going to have 8 home games and 9 away games or vice versa. You're not going to have the same amount, which is obviously going to cause some uproar. NFL's already made it a point to say you're going to alternate each year depending on how many home or away games you get. So one year you get 9, next year you get 8. 1, 9, 1, 8. Well, my solution to this was, how about we still do 8 and 8, but every team gets one neutral site game a year, one international game a year.
Right.
Which I guess they didn't listen to the show. They didn't hear that offer I had.
Yeah.
But I figure, the NFL wants to expand into international games a ton. Why not do it that way? And they did say they're going to have one international game for each team over an 8-year period starting in 2022. But I don't know if that's going to replace a home or away game, or it's not really like a per year thing. I think one team's going to get an away game or a neutral game every 8 years, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So why not have one for every team? So every week you have at least one neutral site game because you have, one team gets it, just like a bye week. But
I'm sure there's some organizations that are more willing to, go overseas, rather than just staying over here. I mean, you'd have to go over there and get time acclimated and all that stuff, and then, still work on some practice and weightlifting and all that stuff, which would be a different atmosphere than it would over here. So it just, I think that probably had something to do with it.
Yeah, maybe. And also, COVID's also a little bit of an issue when it comes to international travel right now. But, maybe they'll listen to this episode and they'll hear my pleas. But
I hope so.
As for the 17-game schedule, why? I mean, I alluded to this a little bit prior to our break about why they're doing it. It's mostly due to their lost revenue from COVID, I believe. They were going to do this anyway because more games equals more money, and we all know the NFL's a business. Money is what drives it. Do it for the love of the game for as long as you want, but the NFL's a business. You gotta pay the bills. You gotta make the money sometimes. Yeah. So, Liam, I'll get your opinion. What are your opening thoughts on the 17-game switch? How's this really gonna why the NFL do this? Do you think?
Like I said earlier, off mic, I thought, it's more money oriented than anything else, which I get. At the same time, they're going to have to take a little time and try to make back what they lost from this past year. So that's going to be a process over time, even though, NFL's not, begging for anything.
No, they're not strapped for cash for any means.
Exactly. But, I don't think it'll take that much more of a toll on the players or, the coaches or anything. I think, if we see some crazy injury to Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady in the 17th game,
then they'll care.
They might, reconsider something. But unless, something crazy happens, I think it's not going to affect anybody the same, and it's just a extra week of football entertainment for everybody on this side of things.
Yeah, I mean, as for the players have been the main ones to come out and say they're not really a big fan of this, even though it was technically voted upon by the NFLPA and the CBA. But Alvin Kamara was one of the first to tweet about this when it got announced, and quoting it, he said this decision is dumb as hell for a 17-game schedule. And as for a running back, I'll give him it, because running backs get injured a lot, and they're one of the they get beat down probably more than most positions in the NFL.
Definitely the average player.
But what I'll say about this, and a lot of people have been saying this about, especially what Alvin Kamara said, hey buddy, guess what? You don't have to play all 17 games. You can pull a LeBron and load manage for a game or two,
which happens.
Yeah,
especially if you're a really good team trying to take it deep into the playoffs.
Yeah, people already criticize the NBA a lot for the load management, you're just going to sit out a couple games because you're tired. Oh, big wuss. But you do that for the betterment of the team. You play if you're the Lakers,
and basketball teams travel a lot more and play a lot more games than football teams do. So
they're going to Washington for one game, and then as soon as the game's over, hopping on a flight to Toronto and then playing a game the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas the NFL, I get it that it's a hard hitting game, and your body takes a lot more abuse than it does in basketball. But you get a week, and maybe that's just naive for me to say that. Oh, you get at least a week.
I mean, you're still practicing 4 or 5 days that week, which is also physically tolling on somebody. But you could see both sides of the story.
Exactly. But as for like the player argument, the NFL has been preaching health and safety of players for forever now, with the whole CTE stuff that happened forever ago.
All that stuff.
Yeah, they've been pushing for that a lot, and adding a 17th game to the schedule kind of seems counterintuitive to that. It's like, oh, we want player safety, but let's make y'all play an extra game to increase the chance of
more money
injury.
So we can donate some more to all these.
Let's make
fine establishments that help you after you're done with your NFL career.
Yeah, so let's make more money to fix the issues that are caused by us making more money.
Yeah,
it's kind of it's a big loop they're doing. But for the player health and stuff, for most positions, I feel like there's not going to be too much of an issue besides just stamina throughout the season.
Yeah,
I get that every game in the way the NFL is, every game matters because it's one. You can lose one game and that can cause you to miss the playoffs. Just ask the 10-6 Dolphins last year.
Yeah, I mean you're going to have to watch what you do. Especially if you're in conference rivals or in division rivals and stuff, you're gonna want to be strapped up for those games. Compared to if you're in the NFC, say you're playing, the hard hitting Kansas City defense. The next week, you may want to take that one off so you're more prepared for an NFC team like the Saints or something the next week.
It's gonna come down to, for some strategy on some teams, if they want to rest a few players to get through that extra game, they can do that. But there's already, like I said, there's been people complaining, like I saw some people saying, but if these players are sitting out some games, like the load management crap that you get in the NBA, if that happens in the NFL, is that going to diminish football quality because you're not having your best players play? And I think for that part, quarterbacks are, those are the guys you care about the most, and they're most likely going to be able to play all 17 games.
Yeah.
They're not going to sit out one game, especially a quarterback. They're not going to do that no matter how bad you are. They're not going to sit out a game and let the backup go in and play for them. Whereas, you might have a running back or a wide receiver or, maybe a defensive back or something that they're important to the team, but the team's not as, it's not
built around that person.
Exactly. They can sit out a game or so. You can have Julio or Odell sit out a game if they're tired because if you're playing the Jets for all we know, or just the Bengals or someone really bad.
Yeah, you're not.
You can sit out that
game. Team necessarily, or need that player necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. You can take those breaks. There's going to be ways around it. Then coaches, they're geniuses. They'll find a way for all their players to be up and ready to go no matter what. And for the people that are like, oh, if you have people sitting, it's going to diminish the quality of play and all that. Well, we already have people sit out week 17 for the most part.
Well, it's the same thing like when players sit out the bowl games in college to prepare for the NFL draft. It's basically going to be the same thing. They're going to sit out a week and prepare for the NFL playoffs.
Yeah, the only problem with the bowl game stuff is that that's their playoffs.
Yeah.
That's like someone sitting out the playoffs to prepare for the Pro Bowl. That's just dumb. But it's different levels, but to the same extent. It's kind of like maybe a college player sitting out their rivalry game, like Michigan Ohio State, sitting out that one because they want to get ready for their bowl game. That's kind of just dumb.